The roar tears through the sky, streaking at supersonic speed, carrying the destructive power of tens of thousands of pounds of bombs. That is the legendary Rockwell B-1 Lancer of the United States Air Force. However, the B-1 Lancer, once nearly canceled, transitioned from a nuclear bomber to a key asset in conventional warfare. To understand the uniqueness of the B-1, we must travel back in time. The Cold War, a relentless arms race spanning nearly half a century between the two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, where the most advanced weapons and the most terrifying war machines were born in rapid succession. And the B-1 Lancer was a pinnacle product of that era. Then, the Berlin Wall fell, followed by the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. The world breathed a sigh of relief, and a new chapter began. The fate of war machines like the B-1 Lancer took an unexpected turn. Its role as a nuclear bomber suddenly became obsolete, even redundant. An expensive weapon, now stripped of its primary purpose, it sounded like the end was near. Yet, from the verge of being forgotten, the B-1 Lancer rose stronger than ever, though only 104 Lancer Warriors, including 4 original prototypes, were built. Each one is a legend, setting 61 world records, flying at Mach 1, 25 at high altitudes. This remarkable aircraft can carry up to 75,000 pounds of weaponry. This is the story of the Rockwell B-1 Lancer, from its role transformation to its stunning performances in post-Cold War campaigns. A lethal combination of payload, range, speed, and precision has made it an undeniable symbol of air power. Now, let's dive into the dramatic formation of this magnificent, the bone. The origins of the Rockwell B-1 Lancer. On the website of The Aviationist, Italian aviation expert Andrea D'Olio wrote an article that gave an accurate assessment of the existence of the B-1. The B-1 owes its existence indirectly to the shooting down over the Soviet Union of the U-2 spy plane piloted by Francis Gary Powers. That incident made apparent that the era of high-altitude bomber raids was over, killed by the advancement of surface-to-air missiles and prompting the cancellation in 1961 of the Mach 3 capable XB-70 Valkyrie bomber. The emergence of the Rockwell B-1 Lancer came about through a series of strategic military decisions spanning nearly 2 decades of Cold War tension. What began as a quest for supersonic dominance eventually yielded one of America's most versatile bombers, though not without significant challenges along the way. In the tense atmosphere of the 1950s, the United States Air Force needed advanced bombers capable of delivering nuclear payloads against increasingly sophisticated Soviet defenses. Before the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles, long-range strategic bombers represented the primary nuclear threat of the Cold War. The Air Force wanted a revolutionary aircraft that could combine the payload and range. The United States Air Force maintained that bombers remained essential as part of the nuclear triad concept that included bombers, ICBMs, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Together, these systems complicated any potential defense strategy for potential adversaries. Nevertheless, the high cost of bomber development created constant tension with other defense priorities throughout this period. In December 1957, the Air Force selected North American Aviation's B-70 Valkyrie for its next-generation bomber role. The 6-engine, Delta-winged Valkyrie could cruise at Mach 3+ while flying at 70,000 feet. However, the introduction of Soviet surface-to-air missiles in the late 1950s put the near invulnerability of high-altitude bombers in doubt, as demonstrated by the 1960 downing of Gary Powers' U-2 spy plane. Consequently, the United States Air Force began moving its bombers to low-level penetration tactics. This approach reduced radar detection distances through terrain masking, keeping aircraft under the minimum angles where radar could detect them. Nevertheless, this tactical shift severely affected the B-70, which was optimized for high-altitude performance. At low altitudes, the Valkyrie was limited to subsonic speeds with dramatically decreased range. Following the cancellation of the B-70 program in 1961, the Air Force initiated research on what would eventually become known as the Advanced Manned Strategic Aircraft. The project underwent so many studies and revisions that North American Rockwell engineers jokingly referred to it as America's most studied aircraft. After years of design studies and political debates, President Richard Nixon officially established the program as the B-1A in April 1969. This marked the first entry in the new bomber designation series created in 1962. In June 1970, North American Rockwell won the development contract, beating out Boeing and General Dynamics. The B-1A incorporated features common to both the F-111 and XB-7, including variable sweep wings that provided increased lift during takeoff and landing while reducing drag during high-speed dash phases. The design also featured a crew escape capsule to improve survivability if the crew needed to abandon the aircraft at high speed. On October 26, 1974, Rockwell rolled out the first B-1A prototype at its Palmdale, California, facility. Less than 2 months later, on December 23, 1974, the aircraft made its maiden flight with company test pilot Charles Bach, Colonel Emil Sturmthal, and flight test engineer Richard Abrams at the controls. After a basic flight evaluation, the B-1A landed at Edwards Air Force Base to begin its testing program. The original program called for 240 B-1As to be built, with initial operational capability set for 1979. However, the bomber's journey was far from over, with both cancellation and revival awaiting in its future. From cancellation to comeback, the B-1B era. On June 30, 1977, President Jimmy Carter announced the cancellation of the B-1A bomber program, a decision that marked a pivotal moment in the Rockwell B-1 Lancer's history. This move followed a rigorous evaluation of the program's strategic value, cost-effectiveness, and alignment with broader national priorities. Carter described it as one of the most difficult decisions of his presidency. The decision was shaped by significant budgetary pressures following the Vietnam War, which had strained the United States defense spending, and the ongoing strategic arms limitation talks with the Soviet Union, which aimed to curb the nuclear arms race and reduce the need for costly new bombers. The administration believed that land, sea, and air-launched cruise missiles could fulfill the B-1A's role, rendering the bomber an expensive and redundant system. The cancellation stunned the defense industry. Rockwell International, the prime contractor, faced layoffs of approximately 10,000 workers, and its stock dropped by over 10%. The House had recently voted 243 to 178 to fund 5 additional B-1As, making Carter's decision unexpected even to program supporters. However, Carter preserved the existing testing and development program. The B-1's fortunes reversed in 1981 when President Ronald Reagan revived the program, authorizing the production of 100 B-1Bs. This revival came amid growing concerns about Soviet military capabilities and a shifting political climate that favored stronger defense postures. The B-1B would be optimized for low-altitude penetration with a supersonic dash capability. This tactical shift addressed evolving Soviet air defense threats that had rendered the original high-altitude concept increasingly vulnerable. The first production B-1B flew in October 1984, with the first operational aircraft delivered to Dyess Air Force Base, Texas, in June 1985. Initial operational capability was achieved on October 1, 1986, and the final B-1B was delivered on May 2, 1988, almost exactly 30 years after the first operational B-52 had been accepted. Reagan's version of the bomber differed significantly from Carter-era prototypes. Engineers designated this updated version the B-1B, incorporating critical modifications that addressed earlier shortcomings. The revised aircraft featured improved electronic countermeasures, enhanced payload capacity, and a strengthened airframe for low-altitude flight. Chief among the redesign efforts was a complete overhaul of the bomber's radar cross-section. While not achieving full stealth capabilities like the future B-2, the B-1B incorporated radar-absorbent materials that reduced its signature by an order of magnitude compared to the original B-1A. The aircraft's revised intake design and structural modifications further decreased detectability while maintaining exceptional aerodynamic performance. Strategic Air Command placed particular emphasis on the bomber's electronic warfare suite. The ALQ-161 defensive avionics system represented the most sophisticated electronic countermeasures package ever deployed, capable of detecting, identifying, and jamming enemy radar signals across multiple frequency bands simultaneously. Despite its complex development history, the production B-1B proved remarkably capable in service. The aircraft's combination of speed, range, and payload capacity exceeded initial operational requirements in several key areas. Most impressively, the B-1B's internal weapons bay could accommodate 75,000 pounds of ordnance, 3 times the payload of the B-52 it partially replaced. The bomber's variable geometry swing wing design allowed it to achieve Mach 1, 25 at altitude, while maintaining remarkable low-altitude agility at high subsonic speeds. The B-1B's 4 General Electric F101GE102 afterburning turbofan engines delivered 30,000 pounds of thrust each, enabling the massive bomber to outperform many dedicated fighter aircraft in acceleration and climb rate. In peacetime exercises, B-1B crews routinely demonstrated the aircraft's ability to penetrate sophisticated air defense networks using terrain-following radar and electronic countermeasures. This combination of speed, stealth, and electronic warfare capabilities made the Rockwell B-1 Lancer extraordinarily difficult to detect and intercept, confirming Reagan's confidence in the program's strategic value. After decades of development and political battles, the Rockwell B-1 Lancer finally proved its worth in actual combat operations beginning in December 1998. The supersonic bomber's battlefield career would ultimately span multiple conflicts across more than 2 decades. The B-1B Lancer's first combat test, Operation Desert Fox. Operation Desert Fox in December 1998 marked a significant milestone as the B-1B Lancer finally entered the combat arena. After 2 decades of development and preparations, this 4-engine supersonic bomber transitioned from a Cold War deterrent to an active combat aircraft during this 4-day bombing campaign against Iraqi targets.
B-1 is more suited for the package role because of the fact of our speed, and we can go in there, we can go low, we can go high, and we can either lead the formation out, or we can flow in the formation, or we can lag behind the formation.
During Operation Desert Fox in December 1998, the B-1B Lancer made its combat debut in a 4-day bombing campaign against Iraqi targets. The United States military chose the B-1B for its ability to meet mission demands efficiently. Its long range and large payload reduced the need for multiple aircraft, streamlining operations. Each B-1B could carry up to 24 GBU-12 paveway to 500-pound laser-guided bombs per sortie, enabling significant firepower with fewer sorties. The bomber's design also allowed rapid penetration of enemy airspace, while its defensive systems countered Iraqi air defenses effectively, ensuring mission success. 6 B-1B Lancers from the 28th Air Expeditionary Group were deployed to Oman during Operation Desert Fox, where they made their inaugural combat sorties. The bombers demonstrated exceptional performance in actual combat situations, effectively delivering conventional munitions to high-priority targets throughout Iraq. The aircraft demonstrated exceptional reliability throughout the operation. Despite the high-stress combat environment, mission-capable rates remained strong, with minimal maintenance issues reported. This reliability proved especially important given the compressed time frame of the 4-day campaign. Nevertheless, the mission revealed certain operational limitations. Although the B-1B could carry an impressive weapons load, it initially lacked the precision strike capabilities of some other platforms. The bombers primarily delivered unguided conventional bombs rather than precision-guided munitions during this operation, highlighting an area for future enhancement. Crews also faced challenges with target acquisition systems and battle damage assessment capabilities. After dropping their payloads, pilots and weapons systems officers often had limited ability to verify strike effectiveness. Operation Desert Fox fundamentally transformed the B-1B's role in America's military strategy. Before this mission, many defense planners still viewed the aircraft primarily as a nuclear deterrent platform. Afterward, however, military leadership increasingly recognized its potential as a conventional strike asset. This successful combat debut prompted significant investments in upgrading the B-1B fleet. Most notably, the Air Force accelerated integration of precision-guided munitions, including Joint Direct Attack munitions, vastly improving the bomber's strike accuracy. These upgrades would prove invaluable during subsequent operations in Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Iraq. The mission also influenced training protocols for B-1B crews. The Air Force incorporated lessons learned from Desert Fox into revised training regimens, emphasizing conventional strike scenarios over the nuclear mission that had previously dominated exercises. Furthermore, the operation established a deployment template that would be refined in subsequent years. Rather than maintaining a constant bomber presence in potential hotspots, the Air Force adopted a rapid deployment model where B-1Bs could quickly move to forward locations when needed, then return to home bases afterward. This approach maximized operational flexibility while minimizing overseas logistics requirements. Overall, the B-1B's performance during Operation Desert Fox validated decades of development efforts and paved the way for the aircraft's expanded role in American air power projection. From this initial test in combat, the Rockwell B-1 Lancer would evolve into one of the most versatile and potent conventional strike platforms in the United States arsenal. Operation Allied Force Precision Strikes in Kosovo. Following its combat debut in Desert Fox, the B-1B Lancer faced a more complex challenge in '99 when NATO launched Operation Allied Force, a 78-day air campaign aimed at halting Serbian human rights abuses against Kosovo's ethnic Albanian population. On April 1, 1999, 5 B-1B bombers from the 28th Bomb Wing at Ellsworth Air Force Base departed to join NATO forces in what would become a defining moment for the aircraft. Operating primarily from Royal Air Force Base Fairford in England, the B-1 bombers demonstrated extraordinary efficiency throughout the campaign. The Rockwell B-1 Lancer's contribution to Allied force proved remarkably disproportionate to its deployment numbers. Though B-1B bombers flew merely 2% of the total combat sorties, they delivered an astounding 20% of all ordnance dropped during the operation. This striking statistic underscored the bomber's unmatched payload capabilities compared to other aircraft in the theater. By June 1999, when Serbian President Milosevic finally agreed to a ceasefire, B-1 crews from Ellsworth had completed over 100 planned combat missions, dropping more than 1,260 tons of Mk-82 general-purpose bombs. The bomber's ability to deliver massive payloads with increasing precision proved instrumental in NATO's systematic dismantling of Serbian military infrastructure. Beyond sheer bombing volume, the B-1B introduced a tactical innovation during the latter stages of the Kosovo campaign. The aircraft pioneered a roving linebacker approach, loitering over battle areas, awaiting target assignments from ground controllers. This novel tactic leveraged the bomber's speed, agility, payload capacity, and extended endurance to strike multiple targets during a single mission. The B-1B crews confronted significant threats throughout their Kosovo operations. According to veteran crew members, the bombers faced surface-to-air missile threats during nearly every sortie. This constant danger required exceptional vigilance and countermeasure deployment. One particularly harrowing incident occurred during the B-1's first Kosovo mission, a raid on the Novi Sad oil refinery. Both aircraft came under attack from SAM-6 missiles. Consequently, the bombers' newly deployed radar decoys, towed behind the aircraft on long cables, proved their worth by successfully attracting the incoming missiles away from the aircraft. Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Payne recalled another close call. "Shortly after our second bomb run, I remember the aircraft commander saying, 'Is that a missile?' It was, and it missed. But that period, even with countermeasures and maneuvers, seemed like it took forever while we waited to see if the missile missed." Adding to these challenges, crews had to simultaneously master several pieces of new equipment, including Combat Track 2 radios, Ali-50 towed decoys, Iraqi 210 radios. Aircrew members noted a particular psychological burden when flying as the second B-1 in formation, as this aircraft typically became the primary target for enemy air defenses. Operation Allied Force served as a crucible that transformed both the B-1 bomber's capabilities and the Air Force's operational approach. First and foremost, the mission highlighted the critical importance of combat readiness. As Lieutenant Colonel Payne emphasized, airmen have to have all of their affairs in order when talking about being ready for combat today, and a lesson extending to family preparation for sudden deployments. The operation also validated several technological advancements. The successful performance of towed decoys against SAMs confirmed the effectiveness of this countermeasure system. Moreover, the entire experience accelerated integration of precision-guided munitions into the B-1's arsenal, a capability gap identified during the operation. Perhaps most significantly, Allied force cemented the B-1B's reputation as an essential strike platform. As one Air Force official noted, what these guys did was key to the B-1 to stay in the inventory, which ended up being key to combat operations for Afghanistan and Iraq all the way up to now. Additionally, the campaign provided the first successful implementation of the Air Expeditionary Force concept, with units rotating through forward bases. This approach would become standard in future operations, maximizing combat effectiveness while minimizing personnel strain. The Rockwell B-1 Lancer's performance over Kosovo ultimately validated its transition from Cold War nuclear deterrent to conventional precision striker, setting the stage for even more impressive contributions in Afghanistan and Iraq. Enduring freedom and Iraqi freedom, the B-1B's peak performance. The Afghanistan and Iraq campaigns marked the true pinnacle of the Rockwell B-1 Lancer's combat career. Undoubtedly, these operations transformed the aircraft from a promising bomber into an essential warfighting platform with proven capabilities. When Operation Enduring Freedom began in October 2001, the B-1B quickly emerged as the heavyweight champion of America's bombing campaign. Despite comprising merely 2% of coalition Air Force's missions, the B-1 bomber delivered approximately 40% of all bombs dropped throughout the operation. This remarkable disproportion demonstrated the aircraft's unmatched payload efficiency. By December 2001, B-1 crews had executed multiple record-setting missions, including one sortie where a single aircraft dropped 60 Mi-82 500-pound bombs against Taliban targets. The B-1's cavernous bomb bays enabled it to carry substantially more ordnance than any other platform in theater, making it particularly effective against dispersed enemy positions. The integration of joint direct attack munitions essentially reinvented the B-1B's combat capabilities. During Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003, the B-1 aircraft delivered 43% of all joint direct attack munitions used throughout the campaign. This precision revolution allowed the bomber to transition from primarily carpet bombing to executing pinpoint strikes against high-value targets. Each B-1B could carry up to 24 GBU-31 2,000-pound joint direct attack munitions simultaneously, giving commanders unprecedented flexibility in mission planning. This capability proved decisive during the 2003 shock and awe campaign targeting Baghdad, where B-1 struck government buildings with remarkable accuracy while minimizing collateral damage. Perhaps most surprisingly, the Rockwell B-1 Lancer missions revolutionized close air support doctrine. Originally designed for nuclear deterrence, the B-1B unexpectedly became a preferred close air support platform in both Afghanistan and Iraq due to its extended loiter time, massive payload, and improved targeting systems. Ground commanders specifically requested the Bone for support missions because of its ability to remain on station for hours while carrying various munition types. The aircraft's sniper targeting pod integration further enhanced this capability, allowing crews to autonomously identify and engage targets with unprecedented precision. In effect, these operations redefined the bomber's role, transforming it from a strategic nuclear platform into a surprisingly versatile, tactical asset that could respond to evolving battlefield conditions with devastating effect. Syria and the fight against ISIS, modern warfare with the Bone. In August 2014, a Rockwell B-1 Lancer crew taxiing toward a runway received unexpected orders that would initiate a new chapter in the bomber's combat history. Originally headed for Afghanistan, they were suddenly redirected to Iraq for what would become Operation Inherent Resolve, the multinational campaign against ISIS. The B-1B's initial mission quickly evolved from providing on-call support over Baghdad to an expanded offensive against advancing ISIS forces. Throughout the first month, coalition aircraft delivered 211 bombs, but by January 2015, that monthly total had surged dramatically to 2,208. Indeed, the 9th Bomb Squadron's 6-month rotation resulted in more than 2,000 joint direct attack munitions dropped, a quantity described as way more than any comparable deployment since at least 2010. As the conflict progressed, the B-1 bomber's technological capabilities substantially enhanced its effectiveness against ISIS. New munitions, including the GBU-31, GBU-38, and laser-guided joint direct attack munitions, gave the bomber unprecedented flexibility to engage both fixed and moving targets. The integration of the Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod represented a genuine game-changer for the B-1B Lancer. This torpedo-shaped device mounted on the aircraft's underbelly provided crews with extraordinary capabilities. Enhanced battlefield visibility through infrared and television sensors. Positive target identification without additional support assets. 360-degree viewing capabilities for operators. Equipped with high-resolution, mid-wave third-generation forward-looking infrared, dual-mode laser, and CCD TV, the Sniper XR pod enabled B-1 aircraft to detect targets from significantly extended standoff ranges. Subsequently, this system permitted downlinking video footage to ground personnel, creating near real-time feedback for theater commanders. In military aviation terminology, Winchester indicates an aircraft has expended all its ordnance. Given that context, the achievement of the 9th Bomb Squadron proves remarkably noteworthy. They recorded 31 Winchester missions during their Operation Inherent Resolve deployment. After each of these missions, ground crews celebrated by placing W stickers inside the bomb bay doors. As one B-1 crew chief noted, "There's nothing cooler than seeing the jet come home, Winchester, and especially getting to stick that sticker under the door." These missions boosted morale among both air crews and maintenance personnel, who understood their work directly supported larger strategic objectives. The 2018 emergency landing, a mission that redefined trust. On May 1, 2018, a Rockwell B-1 Lancer crew faced a life-threatening situation that would test both human courage and machine reliability. What began as a routine training mission from Dyess Air Force Base in Texas, the trouble began when warning lights indicated a fire in the wing of the B-1B Lancer. As the situation deteriorated, the crew followed emergency procedures, eventually reaching the final checklist item: ejection. When the offensive systems officer pulled the ejection handles, the hatch above blew off as designed, but in that critical moment, the ejection seat failed to fire. Investigation would later reveal that a single crimped part had prevented the signal from reaching the ejection sequence. With the ejection hatch gone, but the seat still in place, the crew member was essentially sitting on what Air Force Secretary Heather Wilson described as like pulling out the pin on a grenade and holding it as you come in to land. Within mere seconds of recognizing the failed ejection, the aircraft commander made an extraordinary decision that would later be recognized as an act of uncommon valor. Cease ejection. We'll try to land. Rather than abandoning the bomber and potentially sacrificing the crew member with the malfunctioning seat, the commander chose to attempt a landing with all four aboard. For approximately 25 agonizing minutes, the crew flew the damaged B-1 bomber with an open hatch, no cockpit pressurization, and one crew member sitting atop an armed ejection seat that could potentially fire at any moment from turbulence or landing impact. They successfully diverted to Midland International Air and Spaceport, executing what officials later called the first ever successful landing of a B-1B experiencing this type of ejection seat mishap. On June 7, 2018, Air Force Global Strike Command ordered an immediate safety stand-down of all B-1 aircraft. The entire fleet was grounded while investigators examined every ejection seat system. The grounding lasted approximately 2 weeks, with bombers returning to service on June 19 after inspections. All four crew members, Major Christopher Duhon, Captain Matthew Leroy Sutton, First Lieutenant Joseph Welch, and First Lieutenant Thomas Ahern, were awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for their extraordinary airmanship and courage. As Robin Rand stated during the award ceremony, "And today I get the real pleasure of presenting them to these 5 great patriots and warriors here." The incident prompted a broader review of the aging Rockwell B-1 Lancer mission's infrastructure. Air Force officials identified that the fleet required technical changes to replace similar parts in all ejection systems. Ironically, the emergency that nearly ended in disaster ultimately strengthened both the aircraft's reliability and the bond of trust among those who fly it. Modern upgrades and the future of the B-1. With the unveiling of a modernized B-1B Lancer at Dyess Air Force Base on September 8, 2023, the United States Air Force initiated a comprehensive revival program aimed at extending the bomber's operational lifespan well into the future, including updated identification, friend or foe capabilities, Link 16 tactical data communications integration, enhanced secure communications systems, modernized defensive avionics, expanded digital data storage. B-1 embracing agile scheduling team significantly enhances the lethality of the B-1B, surpassing its current capabilities, explained Colonel Dan Alford, 7th Operations Group Commander. These upgrades reduce crew workload while streamlining combat employment. Remarkably, B-1 embracing agile scheduling, team modifications take just 22 days per aircraft, slashing 2 years off traditional upgrade timelines. Simultaneously, engineers have developed the load-adaptable modular pylon system that could increase the B-1's payload capacity by 50%. This innovation potentially enables the bomber to carry cutting-edge hypersonic weapons, cementing its role as a standoff missile platform. The B-21 Raider, Northrop Grumman's sixth-generation stealth bomber, will incrementally replace both the B-1B Lancer and B-2 Spirit, with production goals of at least 100 aircraft. The B-21 program reached a major milestone in January 2024 when it was approved for low-rate initial production. Ellsworth AFB in South Dakota will serve as the first main B-21 operating base and formal training unit, followed by Whiteman AFB in Missouri and Dias AFB in Texas. Yet this transition remains conditions-based. As United States Air Force Major General Jason Armagost clarified, "We will not offboard the old just on a specific date." Even as retirement looms, the B-1 embracing agile scheduling, team-modified B-1B remains crucial through at least 2040. In contemporary conflicts requiring standoff precision, strike capabilities, the B-1's massive payload capacity makes it indispensable. Unlike its nuclear-capable counterparts, the B-1's conventional-only status provides unique strategic messaging flexibility. Furthermore, its unmatched capacity to carry 24 AGM-158 joint air-to-surface standoff missiles internally. Indeed, as Air Force planners prepare for potential conflicts in the Indo-Pacific region, the B-1's anti-ship capabilities with long-range anti-ship missiles remain tactically invaluable. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully, this video helps you get interesting content. And if you have any stories or thoughts about the B-1 Lancer, please share them in the comments section. Each of your likes and comments is a motivation for us to improve the quality further. See you in the next video.